I don't care what the reality of the situation is. You're dealt a hand of cards and you're going to need to learn how to play it. And if you want to play correctly, then you might want to listen.
Today we have David Botos from Helix Serve. Welcome, David.
Hi, nice to be on. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. David, tell us about your story. How did you get started with Helix Serve?
Yeah, certainly. So, I've been interested in entrepreneurship for a while, but, when I came to college, I had seen my sister, who was older than me, doing case competitions and winning internships because she's always on top of the ball. And when I came to college, I kind of came with that in my back pocket. We started participating in these things and talking to friends in tech who were doing hackathons. And we realized that, hey, these aren't run very well for students. They aren't marketed very well for students. They aren't providing guidance to students or expectations, resources to even attack the problem. And so we can chain these together and win prize pools. And so we were like, hey, if that's the case right now, then there's definitely a gap. We looked at, a lot of the HR problems as well, and we're trying to solve that.
Yeah, great. And so how does Helix Serve work? Like what's
Sure.
the business
Sure.
model and kind of how does the program work?
Yeah. So as of right now, we are a startup. So there's a lot of exciting things to come, right? And so I think that right now, a client that would come to buy services from Helix Serve, we have an ambassador network that allows us to basically push messaging for employers on a bunch of campuses. Usually we utilize that for our competitions, right, which gives some pretty unparalleled marketing exposure. But right now we're kind of running a services model, right? So we have a bunch of assets that help companies get their recruitment messaging to students, right? And so that's how we're getting kind of money in pocket right now. But as we're kind of understanding the market, understanding how challenges are seen by employers, we're realizing more and more that our goal is to really bring these challenges to a middle market consumer, right? Which is a total change to the way that these things are run. We basically say, these challenges are fun, engaging ways for students to care about a brand. And for far too long, they've been dominated by the biggest brands in tech and business, finance, whatever it might be. So, that's really our goal, is to find really interesting and engaging middle market companies that need really great talent, need the top talent, in fact, and finding ways to make their recruiting brand competitive with someone like a Google or a Morgan Stanley, right?
Wow. Yeah, that's great. And so do you focus on the software market who are looking for developers, or do you expand further? Where do you sit?
Right. So right now, we're developing a tech platform, and you see the thing with our tech platform is it's a big differentiator for us. Our competitors, they essentially create a registration website that's a white labeled product. The challenges run completely independently of any other challenge that this company is running. And they will create a registration link, and they expect students to find this registration link out of thin air to go and register for the challenge. They make it a bottleneck in the process. But at the same time, they never have students come back to the same link. You're never coming back to check case materials, to submit your responses. And if there was a workshop, it wouldn't be there either. And so I guess that we kind of realized that that's really the power of our platform, is creating a central location for students to go for professional resources. And that wider lens, I think, adds a lot for students that a lot of clients aren't even considering right now.
Yeah, okay, no, that's good. All right. And so then on a personal level, what took you sort of from that pre-startup phase to, where you're at now in the thick of it, seeing
Yeah.
that accelerated growth, those sorts of ththings. What had to change in you personally, and also
Mhm.
can you give us maybe one or two strategies, that you've have also found has worked?
Yeah. Well, I would say that there's nothing that's going to be replacing you going out and doing it for real, right? It's funny because you realize that I've been passionate about entrepreneurship for a while. In elementary school, I had been trying to think to myself, I was like, oh, how do I talk to this girl? She drew these comics. So I asked her, hey, can I photocopy this comic, staple them, and trade them for silly bands and foo erasers, right? Some parents would always buy their kids tons of silly bands and foo erasers, and some kids would get none of them, right? So if I'm able to trade comics for people who say, oh, I have tons of silly bands, then I'm able to trade silly bands for money, right? So I've been kind of, I guess, gunning at this for a while. It's obviously a lot more simple of a model than what we're attacking right now. And obviously the challenges that you face become a lot different. But I would say that with entrepreneurship in general, nothing compares to getting into the ground, getting on the ground and speaking to a customer that you want to serve, right? At the end of the day, you're always going to be able to synthesize any business problem down to, something that can be expressed in one sentence, right? Realistically, I didn't understand this when I was in elementary school, but if you look back at, what I was doing there, you realize, hey, I identified the need, right? There was a lot of kids whose parents wouldn't buy them knickknacks, and there was a lot of kids who had plenty of knickknacks. And then that's the real solution there, no matter how I ended up getting there. So,
Absolutely. I
yeah.
like that. Yeah. And so what have you found have been some of those challenges over this growth process?
Sure. So I would say that the more recent challenges I'm facing is in a lot of the buttoning down of becoming a business, right? We're finalizing an angel round right now, which, hey, let me know if you want to join. Call to
Absolutely.
action. But we're closing it right now. And I think that, the hardest thing for me is the fact that it feels never ending when you're going through like these set processes, right? There's a way that you do these things, and people who have been in entrepreneurship before, they know the song and dance and they can do it really quickly. I'm learning as I go, and realistically I would say that that's a pretty big challenge for me right now. So yeah, I would say that in the past it's been different things though. I'd say that when I started out, probably the most common thing is the fact that I didn't know what the hell a problem was. I didn't understand how to root out what the actual problem is that a company solves, right? So it's interesting though. Problems
Mm.
always changing.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's good. And where do you find that you have the most fun? Like, if we're talking
Yeah.
about like a day-to-day or even a strategic perspective, where do you
Mhm.
find that you enjoy yourself the most?
Um, I've been enjoying myself lately when I go into a call with a person who's in a position that, gets a lot of respect from me, but then I'm able to talk to them about my experience being a student in school. And I realize it's a nice experience because it's reassuring. When I hear a recruiter doesn't know what a professional club is on campus, I say, you know what? Maybe it's okay that I didn't turn in that history paper on time.
Yes,
So that's what I
exactly.
enjoy the most.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, that's good. And so, David, what advice would you give to a business owner or CEO who wants to break through to that next level? Because you've
Yeah.
already had to do that a couple of times now.
Yeah.
What advice would you provide?
Well, I'm going to take this in a little bit of a different direction. I'm going to take this in the direction of something that I hear, in my day-to-day life a lot when I'm speaking to potential clients, which is the fact that the hot topic right now is just this idea of the great resignation. It almost, when you give something a name, it almost becomes something different. It's kind of funny. But in a non-political way, if you look at what's happening in the HR market, right? there's been huge shifts to, especially from COVID, bringing people to at-home jobs. Overnight, I think that a lot of businesses are able to understand the business risks, the business implications, and all that stuff, but they don't understand the effect on the psyche of young people, right? I think that a lot of people don't understand the fact that when COVID came along, shifted everything virtual, the effect on young people's psyche is, all right, I'm entering a job market where anything can happen at any time. My job's scope of work, location, and day-to-day experience could change within a day, or a week or a month, or whatever timeline it took to flip your company to virtual, right? The effect on the psyche is, well, damn, if things can change this quickly for when they need it to happen, then why isn't it changing so quick for me, right? You combine that with the history of stagnating wages, you combine that with the history of, you look at the Uber case precedent and stuff of moving third-party contractors to an increasing amount of jobs, and you realize the fact that businesses have completely taken technology too far in terms of disheartening workers about their jobs. The response is immediate and it's loud, and I want to work somewhere where I feel that I understand who works there. I understand that I'm working with humans and faces, not AI recruiters. I mean, I went to HR tech in Vegas, and they're bringing out chatbots that function as a recruiter. You would have an interview with a chatbot. You would never speak to a person, and a computer would make an end decision.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And it really changes the landscape and the just the confidence, I guess, in the process, especially when that's first being deployed. How effective is that? Are there certain triggers or personality traits that are red flags? That are coming up in the software, but could actually work positively in a human-oriented workplace.
Yeah, well, what we noticed is that more than that, I'll add a new lens, is that this is kind of what I was talking about when I say that I go and I speak to people and they might not know what a professional club is, or what that means. So the thing is that this actually came up from a conversation with another company in the space where I was speaking to the experience that I had, where professional clubs essentially trade secrets about how best to recruit, right? Professional clubs, started in maybe, the 80s in college, but it was a small group thing. Now it really defines student professional life, right?
And I was going to say, for those listeners who don't actually know what a professional club is, could you define that?
Yes. Yes. I guess I shouldn't be saying, wow, all these people don't know what it is, and then not describe it. That's my bad. Anyways, so professional clubs on campus might be something a lot of people know are business fraternities. Those were some of the first things to come online. But what it also looks like is consulting clubs, investment clubs, hackathon groups on campus, even as you look into engineering projects teams. So at Michigan, we have, probably the best engineers at Michigan, solar car team, stuff like that, right? I mean, they're literally going out and building a car that runs on solar.
Right.
Yeah. So I would say
That's
if you want an
cool
engineer, that's probably a pretty good engineer, right? And so what these professional clubs end up doing is they have their own recruiting process, and they're doing a lot of that pre-selection for you. They're grouping people that are interested in really pursuing the upper echelons of professional careers, right? And they're very talented. These are the types of people that if you brought into your mid-sized company would really change the game for you, right? But how do you grab these people away from their competitive offers at an Amazon, a Google, what have you, right? And that's kind of where we come in, right? We say, if you run a challenge that's on a real problem that you face at work, say that you get a data set or something that is just massive, and you're just right now thinking to yourself, man, I do not want to do the time of looking through, finding trends, all that stuff. You take that to us and we say, all right, well, we'll hit two birds with one stone. We'll pose this as a problem to students, right? We'll let them toil, combined 300, man hours going into breaking down, looking for trends in this data, and we'll have them present to you. And then you get a direct, almost like a mini internship, right? And the students are getting out of it, not just a chance at the prize pool, not just a chance to get an internship or a job if they win, but also our workshops, our guidance. We're adding a mentorship program. All of these things provide tangible professional experience to students. And we believe and hope that students begin to trust us as a professional brand that's finally on their side. So
yeah, no, that's really good. And so you're giving employers access to some really solid talent,
right.
through your platform. Yeah.
Right. And
Okay.
the thing is that when I say we work for students, it doesn't mean we don't work up for HR clients. I just think that if you are a business leader and you look at the state of business right now and the state of recruiting, and you have potentially a son or daughter that might even be in this state, and you think to yourself, man, Gen Z, they're just not hard workers, and you stay stagnant in that, your business will die. I don't care what the reality of the situation is. You're dealt a hand of cards and you're going to need to learn how to play it. And if you want to play correctly, then you might want to listen,
Yeah, and that's I mean that is good advice. Listening to listening to the market. I mean that's been the key to many a successful business is listening to the market, which is good. All right, so David, if you could go back 5 years and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
I think that if I were to go back 5 years, I would say that the first thing that you need to do is in a business is make sure that all of your team, like you begin to understand why people do culture activities and stuff that do come off as corny and probably are corny, right? But like you begin to realize why that stuff is important, because you realize more and more when we had a completely virtual, program over the summer where we were all working in different cities across the US, versus now that everyone is locked down at their colleges and able to be, hands on the market. I find that our most productive ideas come from casual phone calls where somebody just has a spur of the moment idea that comes from hearing something that you only hear because somebody is going through real student life. They just experienced it and now we're on the phone, right? And so I think that, how that connects to kind of those cultural aspects that might come off as corny is the fact that you realize that people need to feel like they understand the business better than anybody else, right? And I think that's hard to do for students, right? It's hard to convince a student that they're capable, right? I guess I'll leave it there, but say that a student entrepreneur ends up, doing this, just make sure that your team understands what it takes to solve a problem, what it takes to break down a problem, and then feels confident enough to know that, hey, just because I've only done schoolwork where you get 1, 2, 3, right, doesn't mean I can't figure out 1, 2, 3 and do it better than anyone else, So
yeah, for sure. There's there are definitely some really solid problem solvers out there. That's good. David, just go with me on this question. Lion or elephant? Which one and why?
Okay. Oh, okay. I mean, how sage do you want me to be here?
Just whatever comes first to your mind.
Yeah, sure. I'll say elephant. And the reason why is I was watching a nature documentary, and you see how rats they will scare away an elephant, right? And so elephants have that might, they might not be threatened by that rat, right? But there's some, primal understanding of that, like maybe that rat carries disease, or maybe that rat is here because it's not over there, and I don't want to be over there. I think that like you start to kind of realize that like that gut instinct is not something that you always are going to understand, but it's something that you should probably trust. It's just safer, right? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
respect the elephant.
I like that. It's good. It's good. And finally, David, who can you best help, and how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. So I think that I can provide a lot of free help to a company that might be at a small to medium size that doesn't have that's realistically looking at this job market now and saying, hey, I don't understand why my people are leaving. I don't understand why my people are demanding raises right now. I don't understand how to get more people in my funnel. Maybe you're even experiencing less people in your recruiting funnel than you did pre-COVID, right? I feel like there's a lot of people who they are in the trenches, and it's very hard for them to, think about, the bigger picture and the battle plan and what's going on the other side. And if I'm able to offer a, 30-minute free consultation to talk about your business, what you do, and how we can make your business be more exciting to young recruits, I would love to do that, right? Because there's
Fantastic.
plenty of top talent that's looking for a job that's going to care for them and treat them right. And I will tell you that from the student side, not everyone is actually that satisfied with Google and Amazon. There's a lot of room. So
That's good. And how could they get in touch with you?
well, feel free to contact me on my email, David at Helix, HelixServ.com. Maybe if I were to go back and give myself advice, I would have said choose a URL that's easy to say out loud.
Sure.
But that would probably be the best place to reach me. You can also reach me on LinkedIn. I'll respond probably within a day. And just shoot me a message, say, hey, heard you over on, talking to Ryan, and I wanted you guys to come and give us your thoughts.
Yeah, great. David, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, Ryan. Thanks.
Speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.